Before we get into this episode of It's Tip Top Fishing, a massive thank you to the sponsors that made it all possible. What's up and welcome to another episode of It's Tip Top Fishing. My name is Keaton Ditchfield and today is quite an epic episode, but not in the way that I wanted it to be. So, long story short, I fished the World Carp Classic qualifying competition with a new team, and it was a 7-day competition with lots of fish caught, but not by us. So this is a hybrid of a vlog of what happened in the competition, as well as yes. So this video is a hybrid of the vlog of what happened on the competition and 10 top tips on what not to do in a fishing competition. It's time to pack all them things and go on this epic adventure.
Putting the sheep in an enclosure and playing a tape.
We're here. Not that you can see much, that's all I can see. Following the little signs for registrations. I was super excited just to start this competition. While I was parking, I saw this black heron, what I call a nighttime daytime bird, and it was epic to see how well this competition was organized. All the sponsors were there. The competition was really organized to a T. Everything was ready, everything was done. You could see these guys were pros at what they do. All the teams came into the hall to get this competition going, but before that, a few safety briefs and a message from the guys who organized the comp.
Welcome to the World Carp Classic SA Qualifier 2022.
I believe you guys are going to enjoy this event and have a special week this week. May the best team win as well.
A massive thank you to those guys and a quick message from one of our sponsors.
Hey, what you doing? I'm being totally cool. Oh wow, that's cooler than being normal type of cool. How do I become totally cool too? You have to check out how cool Totai really is and see what they do. Want me to show you?
Totai is a totally cool gas appliance and camping equipment brand. You can get everything from gazebos, chairs, tables, gas cookers, gas bottles, tents, bras, and so much more. Get Totai and become totally cool like us. Yes.
Now we're both totally cool.
Now back to the adventure for the peg draw.
Pick number 10 is yours. Good luck.
Pack 10!
Peg 10.
Yeah!
Both of us have never fished this place, so we've got no idea whether it's good or bad. But we're going to try our best. Tip number 1. Fish the venue that you're going to fish during the competition before you fish the actual competition. We didn't do that. None of us had fished Rudikorpies before. So my suggestion is to fish the venue at least twice beforehand. Why? Because what you will do is you'll work out the venue's what's it called, formula. Each venue has got its own formula, and once you've worked that formula out, then it's just about finding which area you're in, find the best spot of your swim, and then use that formula to catch more fish. With all the pegs drawn, it was time to go out to our campsites that we would be spending the next 7 days fishing. So now we're having our first argument. It was Happy's fault. Happy's gonna kill Johan.
Morning, please bring the packs for ground sheets. And Johan brought the packs for the tent. Thank you very much.
Was it on WhatsApp? Number 2. Fish with the guys that you're going to be in a team with before you fish the competition. Now that might seem very simple, but we didn't do that because of life and things like that. Life is very busy. Now, fishing together beforehand with your team allows you to work out all the kinks beforehand. Now, that is working out what each team member's duties are. It works out fishing strategies, and it works out whether you guys can mesh as a team. If there's any personality clashes that could happen, you'd rather it happen before you fish for 7 days with Oaks on the bank and you stuck there for the 7 days for the competition. Once you fish together before, you don't even have to ask, and you know who's onto what duty. You know who will bring what on the day of the competition. You know pretty much everything. All you got to do is just implement your strategy, which you've probably worked out already because you guys are going to have fished together before.
Now that we had arrived and had our first arguments out of the way, it was time to get some bait ready and finish setting up. I set up my lovely to tie table. Flip, this thing was a game changer. I used to have a crappy little foldy table that just fell over half the time. When the sun set, we all were dying to start fishing. We were watching fish turn in front of us, but it was time to get the prep on. We were cooking 20-litre tubs of bait at a time, so it is plenty bait ready for tomorrow.
So tip number 3. When we were planning stuff, we had meetings, we all had all kinds of stuff. And our strategy was, as soon as we were allowed on the water, to map out the entire swim so that we knew exactly what was in front of us. Did we do it? No, we didn't do that. So my next tip is to find out as much information about your swim as possible. So whether that's using marker floats, whether it's using leads to feel the bottom, whether it's to use things like deepers and fish finders to map out the entire swim. What you want to do is have as much information about your swim as possible. You want to know where the silt is, where the sand is, where the reeds are, where there are rocks, if there's a sunken tree. Any kind of bit of information, structure, or where the fish might swim, you need to know that before you commit any kind of bait to that swim. Number 4, the correct line choice. Now, we were sponsored by quite a nice line, and it did the job, and it was fine, up to 150 meters, like most monos. You don't want to be fishing with monofilament over 150 meters. Why? Because monofilament, it stretches, and you would rather use braid because braid does not have any stretch. So if you're using 30, 40, 100 meters of mono, when the fish runs, you will get bite indication. But the rest of the time we had rods out at 600 meters, 500 meters, 400 meters. So it was a bit dumb of us to not use braid. Our bite indication wasn't there, and so I'm sure we lost out on fish by not even knowing that they bit. Morning! There's our camp. So in the next 15 minutes they're going to start boat inspection. Then we're going to do the where's my swim, yours, where's your swim? And then we're going to be fishing, but we've got a lot of fish turning out in the front, which is very exciting. We've got the particles on the boil. It's a wild venue, so wild venues, top tip, wild venues like particles. Boilies tend to feed catfish, but we've brought some boilies just in case, because you never know what will make the difference. So we're going to talk you through our strategies later. And yeah,
one of the things we actually got right was our terminal tackle. We were sponsored by Nash. You can get some of that at cmfcarp.co.za with a 10% discount if you use the discount code in the description. Our stuff from Nash was really great, and I'm going to tie the Drandon Main rig in a live video coming up shortly. So make sure to check out the description for when that's coming. I will show you exactly how to tie it, and it's a fantastic rig that has caught me many PBs. Also coming in the future, these Signet marker poles. These things are a game changer, but I will tell you all about them in the upcoming review.
Now number 5, not sticking to the agreed game plan, at least until you have reached a point where you have tried it properly. So what our strategy was, which I think was still quite a good strategy to do, which we didn't do, was scan the entire place, scan the entire swim. Once you scan the entire swim, pick our favorite spot, and we dump quite a bit of bait onto there, and we fish 1 or 2 rods on that. Then with the other rods we scout. So with literally just a handful of bait or no bait, put your other rods on different spots that could produce fish. And then once they do produce fish, then you commit bait to it. Now we didn't do that. We didn't scan the whole place, and then we committed lots of bait to different areas, and that led to the next mistake. Number 6, itchy feet. So what the guys would do, instead of, they'd want to move the rods because they hadn't produced fish in the last 12 hours or whatever, so they want to move the rig, which in the first couple of days of the competition is a big mistake, because Rudekorpies is a big dam and fish move around. I'll get more to that later. But they get itchy feet. But instead of moving the rig, just the rig, and putting just a handful of bait over it, they go and they now decide to commit 20 kilos of bait, or a 20 kilo bucket of bait, to this new spot. And then 6 hours later they do it again, and then 6 hours later or 12 hours later they do it again, which is a huge mistake. We ended up having 150 kilos of bait spread out all over the swim, instead of having one spot that we committed a lot of bait to, and then scouted with our bait, scouted with just a hook bait and a handful of bait in another area, and then if it produced fish, we'd commit more bait to it. But if it didn't, then we haven't committed a lot of bait to another area that we're just going to move from anyway.
And so the competition began, and we got our lines out immediately instead of scanning the entire swim. So with that mistake made, the torture began, with guys on our left and right starting to catch fish. Good on them, they did their homework, they implemented the correct steps, and so we're rewarded for it. So well done to those guys for catching all those fish. Thank you for proving that there were fish in the dam. As the Game of Thrones says, now our watch begins. And we began to watch rods, and the rods did nothing for days and days. Our mental state wasn't very good, but we just kept on trying. It was fantastic to be part of this competition. Like I said, the organizers did a fantastic job, and to watch so many talented fishermen in such a small place, it was just a fantastic experience to have.
Number 7. This might seem very dumb, but we did it. We did it, boy. So what happened? We ran out of petrol halfway out, dropping a line in the middle of the night, in the rain, in the stormy weather, and I had to row back with Johan laying the line behind me. I was rowing back against, luckily with the wind kind of, and we got back, and then we were like, cool, got to put petrol in the boat. I'm not saying who's responsible for the petrol in the boat, but we said, cool, we need to put petrol in the boat. And then one of the three of us said, no, I'll do it tomorrow. And what happened? A couple of hours later, Johan got a bite. He got a bite, and we were like, shit, we've got a fish on. It felt like a carp. Johan got eyes on it. It looked like a carp. Oh, we were going to get our only weigher, our first weigher. We were like, yes, it's going to happen. And because what we should have done is gone onto the boat and driven out and fetched that fish. But there was no petrol in the boat. So while they were scrambling to get petrol in the boat, Johan was there, knee deep in crocodile infested water, trying to reel in this fish as best he could. And 30 meters away from him, oops, fish is gone. We lost the fish because we were going to put in petrol in the morning instead of right now. So in a man's life, there are a few things that are very important, and one of them is smack yourself in the face. It opened is tongs. Tongs are very important, so these are my Totai tongs that I'm handing over to Johan to cook our meat with. I trust him. That was a beautiful fail.
Another thing we just didn't get wrong was the food. When you're not catching fish, you might as well eat well. And we ate fantastically. Thank you so much to Johan and Tibisho for making such fantastic food.
Hey, guys, come feast here. Your snack is ready.
I'll take all of it, thanks.
So on it went. We kept on trying, changing rigs, changing baits, changing spots, changing baits. We did everything we could. And eventually we got a fish on. Happy hooked up on a very nice carp and they went out to go and fetch it. Unfortunately, this fish broke off because it came off on the leader, which was a very weird fluke. And we had 5 other runs and we just couldn't capitalize. We lost all of them. And here you see 2 very disappointed fishermen who had waited a few days for one bite and it came off. So, it's Wednesday and we haven't caught anything so far. So to beat the bad juju, you have to sing the song. 5, 6, 7, 8. When you're blanking and you know it, clap your hands. When you're blanking and you know it, clap your hands. When you're blanking and you know it, and you really don't want to show it. When you're blanking and you know it, clap your hands. Number 8. Now, this also works with the second number 2, because I actually had an argument with one of our members. I'm not going to say who, but I had a fat argument because that person wanted to move the rods at bite time. So number 8, don't move the rods at bite time. Why? It's literally called bite time. So why would you move and disturb a swim during the time that you are most likely to have a bite? So that's come up in no time. We are now on day 2 and we hooked up on a big one and lost it. It was on Happy's rod and it broke off on his leader knot, which is crap. So we are currently, there's a bird there. What is that? I saw a cool bird. How to distract Keaton, show him a cool bird. So yeah, we've got a storm emanating. I have got my overwrap on, ready for whatever comes. She's got 20 pegs in her, so she should be fine. Last year we heard horror stories of guys having bivvies blown away, pods blown over, all kinds of havoc. So this place is known for having pretty big storms, so battening down all the hatches so that when she comes, we're ready for her. So, like anticipated, the weather came in. Holy moly. For a while, at one point we couldn't see the other side. Now we can again. It's a little bit calmer, but the lightning might come in. Only thing I'm worried about is lightning and maybe hectic wind for this gazebo, for Happy's gazebo. Oh, he'll cry. But yeah, everyone seems to be holding on for dear life and hoping that we can get a fish or 2.
I'm here, man.
Look at that. Happy's holding on for his tent that'll become a parachute. So number 9. One of our team members got a fish from the one spot. Once that person had picked up a fish from that spot, he then decided to pick up the marker pole or the marker float, I can't remember which one it was, from the spot where they picked up the fish and then moved it to another spot away from where they picked up that fish. So they got a fish from spot A, got hooked up on a fish from spot A, and then moved the spot away from spot A, moving the marker float, so we don't even know where spot A is anymore, to spot B. The reason why they moved from spot A to spot B is because they saw our neighbors catching fish from a spot that was close to spot B. So we moved our fishing spot from a place where we did get a fish away from that spot, and we moved it to another spot because we saw someone else catch a fish. Now I'm sorry, that's a dumb thing to do. If you get a fish from one spot, commit a little bit more bait to it and keep fishing that spot. Why? Because the fish are there. don't move away from where you are catching fish already.
To put salt into the wound, our neighbors started to do even better. The guys on our right and the guys on our left started to get double ups. They were catching fish after fish, and to be honest, I really was happy for them. These guys were doing some really good angling, and I'm super proud of what they did. The guys that were winning the competition were over 36 kilos of fish. That's 3 fish together, that's each one weighing more than 12 kilos. The guys were seriously doing well.
Now finally, number 10. Number 10. Yes. If you are confident in where you put your rig, you're confident in the spot, you're confident with the type of bait you've put around your hook bait, and you're confident in the way you've presented your hook bait, don't be afraid to leave that rig there for up to 24 hours. My reasoning is for this. We were fishing a 7-day competition. The competition was 7 days. That means you've got to have the long game in your head. You've got to be thinking long term. So if you are confident in your rig and stuff, you want to leave your baits there. Why? Because Ruderkoppies is also a big venue, and fish can travel a huge distance. And the famous saying is 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water. So you've still got to wait for those 10%, those 90% of the fish to come into your 10% of the water. So if you're confident in all of those things, don't move your bait, or don't disturb your swim. Because remember, I don't know if any of you guys have tried it, but try this for me. Put your head under the water when a 2-stroke is driving near you in the water. Listen to how loud that thing is. Then do the same thing with the trolling motor, the electric trolling motor. It's not silent. It disturbs the swim. And you driving with your 2-stroke or your trolling motor over the spot, or dropping rigs or dropping bait, it'll disturb the swim. What you want is a perfectly quiet, perfectly normal day. You want your carp to go there and not think that anything's up. There's just lots of food on the floor. You want them to think that. So that's it for me for this episode of Tip Top, for the Carp Classic for me. So we learned a lot of lessons. And there's a lot of lessons that I knew already but was outvoted for. I don't mean that in a mean way. When you're fishing in a team, everyone's got to make compromises, so everyone did. And yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you so much to these guys for sponsoring us and making all of this happen. I'm sorry I let you down. It's not for lack of trying. I did my best. I tried to catch as many carp as I physically could, the biggest carp I possibly could, with all the knowledge that I've used to help others catch fish. But it didn't work out this time. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Till next time. Tight lines, guys.